So, I've been rewatching the new Arknights anime opening lately. Like, rewatching it a lot. It's a special sort of pride one feels when a game they've spent half a grand on does something as big as a whole ass anime. So, it all got me thinking. What if I emulate a certain anime pope and analyze this opening as someone that knows this game pretty much inside and out? Perhaps it would reveal some interesting details. Or even help new people get hooked enough to go and watch it. So, with these noblest of intentions, I set up on watching the whole thing even more times than I already did. I will structure my findings at a non-spoiler and a spoiler section. The non-spoiler one will include a literal retelling of what happens in the opening, and iterating on its basic structure and themes without those dreaded spoilers, while the rest of my analysis will take place in a no-holds-barred, spoiler-free for all. So, with all that out of the way, let's look at what's in Arknights' opening. Shit, is that copyrighted? We begin at an upward shot of the sarcophagus that Doctor has been sleeping in, looking appropriately imposing before fading in on PRTS, followed by the Doctor looking down, presumably at it, indicating his hesitation to use it in episode 1. Downcast gazes are a bit of a theme in this opening. In general, everyone seems to have taken a sip of that depresso espresso, although the Doctor's skulking is interrupted by glimpses of a green-haired woman looking over her shoulder at them, rather accusationally, if I may observe, which causes them to jerk upwards in recognition, almost as if they remembered something? Ooh. We then cut to Amiya carrying over the depressing tone by slowly walking over a rocky field with her arms presumably wrapped around herself. Despite the vulnerabilities she displays during the scene, at the same time the camera's position almost frames her as a giantess, taking monumental steps towards a new tomorrow. This feeling is aided by the fact she's literally walking towards the dawn. Then we briefly cut to our Union members steadying their sword, but rather than taking an aggressive stance, they seem to be bracing for an attack instead, hinting at a potential different side to our villains. This is followed by an establishing shot of Nerl checking a fallen comrade, and then Medic leaning down to tend to someone so badly injured it causes Gar to look away. In between these shots there are some basic introductions for Black Steel and Penguin logistics duos making their way through the Longman slums. Misha running a hand through her leg bandage as the lyrics sing about scars of the past transitions us to Hoshiguma and Doberman leading the LGD and Rhode Island operators respectively. This shot also serves to highlight the difference between the factions, with the LGD being much more uniform and rigid, while Rhode Island seems more freeform and individualistic. The LGD soldiers marching is also the only noticeable use of CG in this opening as far as I can tell, but it's quite well done, so no issues there. The shot that follows is one of Chen cutting down a reunion member in front of a warehouse filled with reunion masks, abruptly cutting to Skull Shatterer loading his grenade launcher, and then Misha walking down an alleyway before turning around, surprised at what she sees. Ace, on the other hand, seems perfectly content leaning against that crumbled wall surrounded by fire. He even affirms that by showing us that smile. That damned smile. In fact, everyone seems to be in a cheery mood all of a sudden as we immediately cut to Rhodes Island and the 4 contractors all smiling at the camera, while the Lumenites that follow them remain quite stoic. But the happy vibes are infectious, and Nisha also smiles at the person she's looking at, before Skull Shatterer snaps in, surprising Amiya before her resolve, and the beat kicks in. The chorus is mostly white noise in terms of visuals, showing various action scenes and the faces of a lot of people that will become important later, but there are still a couple of things I want to point out. For example, I feel like the extremely quick cut style of direction during the chorus serves a dual purpose. For one, it's a tone setter. Arknights, as its center, it's a story about political and military conflicts happening in quick succession, and Rhodes Island's attempts to navigate and do the right thing through them. Thus, the quick cuts help establish the warlike tone of the show, showing chaos and conflict in a nearly incomprehensible rate, and leaving both the viewers and the characters to try and piece it all together. Second, the rapid-fire nature could be a way for the show to try and shake off the gacha anime stigma, looking at how most of these in the past have been very much ass. Thus, by cramming in as much of its "we're not like other gacha games" elements as it can during the chorus, it tries to retain the attention of people that would write it off because of its nature. Additionally, we have another good reunion shot by showing a reunion grunt with a burned mask waving at the camera, a shot which is additionally paralleled with the Ursus girl saved in episode 1 waving at Amiya. This parallel very clearly is meant to cast the grunt in a positive light, possibly even framing him as a victim of sorts, just like the little Urson girl. Lastly, Hoshiguma's biceps. I mean, look at them. They're beautiful. Look at them! Anyhow, the chorus ends with Tallulah joining the Downcast Stare Club, which quickly rises to sinisterly look at the camera before she's concealed in her flames. Said flames then get swiped away by a charging Skull Shatterer, focusing both us and Amiya at the threat right in front of us, rather than the one looming in the horizon. We then close in on Amiya's eye as she charges an Arch Blast against Skull Shatterer, the whole opening ending with a shot of Amiya waking up on the Rhodes Island's landship's deck that seems to be moving in front of a massive Originium cluster. The Doctor gives her a concerned look, and she responds with a smile that is very reminiscent of the one Misha gave us before the chorus. That is the last shot of the opening. Now, with that out of the way, it's time to spoil the shit out of this, and thus those of you that want to remain pure and unspoiled should move to the timestamp on the screen. They gone? Right, so how cool was that Skull Shatterer Misha sequence? We briefly see Skull Shatterer load his grenade launcher before Misha turns around, indicating that her reaction was both to Amiya and her brother, giving them both a sympathetic and somewhat apologetic smile, but Skull Shatterer's mask clearly showing which side she ended up falling on. Amiya shocked at her state, being forcefully pushed away as she resolves that she has to fight her. Additionally, the sequence with Tal also piqued my interest. Rather than being cloaked by her flames, she's more engulfed by them, potentially hinting at the fact she's not fully in control of her own actions. Closing out, I want to talk about the last scene of the opening. Amiya waking up after charging a blast at Misha clearly alludes to the fact that this scene takes place after the Skull Shatterer fight, and thus, the smile she shows the Doctor is one she got from Misha, which perfectly fits the lyrics that speak of keeping on living and using the pain she carries after Misha's death to fuel her desire to live. Oh yeah, Ace's fire smile scene foreshadows his death. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. And that's all I was able to find. This is a very different style of video for me and was basically spawned from a spur-of-the-moment inspiration, but I hope you enjoyed listening to my unorganized ramblings either way. Overall, the opening is everything I hope an Arknights anime opening would be. Well, not a perfect 10 out of 10, owing to some pointless scenes. I think it snatches that 9 easily, plus the song is a banger, so... And, you know, there were also some scenes I didn't really, could fit in the video, even though I kinda wanted to talk about them. Like, you know, the scene where the fucking civilians are punching out the Ursus people, showing the chaos of the conflict, and that, you know, kinda lowering the villains from this big force that is meant to be feared to more like, you know, see, they're kinda like the same as the civilians. Anyhow, I'm not gonna go into that right now. But, just a little bit. Now, before I transition you to outro Skorak, I want to once again remind you that the Arknights Abridged auditions are still open, so make sure you don't miss out. But I'll stop taking your time now. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Hello everyone, and thank you very much for watching this admittedly experimental part of the Skorak Variety channel. I'll take a little bit of your time to tell you about, you know, Patreon on the screen, Discord on the description. If you want, you know, it's gonna be, it's cool, but not necessary. I'm gonna keep making content, but hopefully a little bit more frequently. But yes, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye!